Varenne 2013, KZ shifter class with 6 gears and 0 patience. I watch a 15-year-old Max pull up against men who bring mortgage stress and physio tape to the grid. When the lights go out, he dives for turn 1 like he already pays tax on that apex. The braking zone is where normal drivers lift. He keeps his foot in, snaps the kart in, and everyone else has a choice: move or end up bolted to the curb. That day looks small on paper, a kart track in France. For me, it's the prologue to Monaco pole laps and rain races that wreck group chats. Now he's lining up a 5th world title and half the grid is still acting surprised. Yeah, I'm not. The warning shot was loud and nobody listened. People talk about Red Bull like they engineered a monster in a lab. No. They opened the garage and the monster was already checking tire pressures. The real factory was in a cold corner of Limburg. Joss ran practice like a shift with no clock out. Miss the launch and you roll back to the line. Miss the apex and you go again until your hands stop lying. No pep talks, just repetition until muscle memory can drive a lap before the brain finishes its coffee. When I see Max nail a wet start and catch the car with one correction, I see that garage, not some secret Red Bull button. Then there's Sophie Kumpen. Everyone loves to mention Joss, yet Sophie has serious karting results, and that matters. She brought calm inputs and clean lines into a house full of rage and petrol fumes. You can feel her influence every time Max sets up a pass 3 corners early and still drives away without drama. The move looks rude. The numbers behind it are sensible. Add 1 training day at Genk with Michael Schumacher, one of the best operators the sport has ever seen standing trackside, watching your braking and turn in. You don't need a fairy tale where he passes a magic torch. A few clear corrections on brake pressure and rotation from that man are enough. When I watch Max thread the car through the swimming pool at Monaco in the wet, I see that day in Belgium as much as anything in Milton Keynes. If you want proof that this was always heading toward domination, look at the list of people he was farming before anyone knew their names. In 2010, he wins the WSK Euro Series in KF3. Behind him on the table is Alex Albon. Later, he becomes the nice guy at Red Bull and then at Williams. Always the one trying to tame a car that loves to snap at the worst moment. People pretend the gap appears out of nowhere in Austria 2020. It did not. It was already there when they both stood on plastic podiums with milk teeth. In 2011, he wins that same series with Esteban Ocon in the rear view. Ocon spends years getting dropped by this kid in karts. Then in Sao Paulo, he's a lap down in a pink car on fresh tires and decides this is the perfect time to unlap himself by throwing it into the race leader at turn 1. Penalty happens, win gone. Push in the weighing area, world explodes. People act like this is a brand new feud. It's just the first time the camera caught it. Those tables are full of names the paddock later pretends to hype as the next big thing, but the same surname keeps sitting above them. When that happens year after year in equal karts, you're not looking at a hot face. You're looking at the first draft of a man who will later make world champions feel like pay drivers. There's a wet final where Max wins a long race on slicks in mixed conditions and opens a huge gap on the field. Dennis Olsen is the nearest name on the sheet, and even he looks like he's on the wrong tire. This is before simulators, just a tent and a kid who treats grip like a mood. Later in KZ in 2013, the field is full of grown drivers who can barely hold the wheel by the end of the stint. Max controls the pace at the front and even backs off in the last laps because the lead is that big. So when clouds roll in over a modern grid and the camera cuts to Max sitting in the car with that bored face, I already know what's coming. That comfort and low grip did not appear in a Red Bull simulator. It came from days where you either respected the wet or you were lying on your side in the grass. The jump from karts to cars just gave him more power and more expensive things to hit. Look at the Florida Winter Series in 2014. Max and Nicholas Latifi drag each other to the line with nothing between them. The timing sheet says 0.004 of a second. If you blinked, you missed which nose hit the stripe first. That's late thief mode in its first real car test. Line the exit up, lean on the rear, aim for the stripe, and trust that the thing will grip even when the wall is filling your visor. A few months later, he lands in European Formula 3 with almost no mileage and starts doing Max things again. Spa weekend, 3 races, 3 wins. Then Norris Ring, another sweep. 6 on the bounce and a field full of drivers every press release is calling the future. Restarts, cold tires, walls ready to collect anyone who fakes it. He keeps sending it, keeps landing it, and suddenly the paddock realizes this is not a kid who needs 3 seasons to figure it out. Every time you see a modern quali where Max rips pole away in the last seconds, that is the same instinct. Wait until everyone else has thrown their shot, then turn the engine up inside your own skull and steal the whole thing with 1 lap. The Norrisring streak is exactly the kind of chaos that makes Helmut Marko reach for his phone. On that tight, bumpy rectangle with walls and bumps and safety cars every few minutes, Max leads from the front, handles restart after restart, and never looks like he's guessing. This is a teenager who barely knows what a tax return is, managing races that make older drivers talk about neck pain. Red Bull sign him, drop him into Formula 1 at 17, and the paddock melts down. Ferrari still needs 3 meetings and a whiteboard to decide who brings coffee. Red Bull watches 6 wins in a row and simply sends a contract. People say the promotion was too fast, too risky. These are the same people who forget he walked into that Toro Rosso and immediately looked like the quickest guy who had ever touched it. Then Spain 2016 arrives. The Mercedes drivers clear the road for him, and the kid wins on debut for the main team. Everyone rewrites their opinion overnight and pretends they believed in him from the start. The comedy comes when you realize how many of his adult arguments are just kart fights with better cameras and more polished haircuts. Take Charles. In junior days, he's already nearby on the timing sheets. Years later, we get Austria 2019. Ferrari on the inside, thinking the move is done, and Max refuses to back out. They lean on each other at the exit, and Max takes the win. Fans shout about racing standards and penalties. I see that kid from Varenne who never accepted that an apex belonged to someone else just because a different color car reached it first. Ocon is baked into this story from the start, always chasing, often close, not often ahead when the trophies matter. Brazil 2018 is just the worst possible version. A lap down, fresh tires, main character energy, and a leader in a Red Bull who is not in the mood. The move fails, the win disappears, and we get the Weybridge shove that launched 1,000 think pieces. Then there's George, kart kid with a talent for presentation, Baku Sprint 2023. He sticks his Mercedes down the inside, punches a hole in the Red Bull side pod, and then turns up after the race with that calm interview voice like he's presenting slides about racing room. Max is standing there with damage, listening to a lecture about tire temperatures. Of course he snaps. George brought a TED Talk to a kart paddock argument and got the response those talks usually deserve. I'm not pretending Max is some wise monk in a helmet. The man treats team radio like a vent channel. One slow stop and you think the mechanic stole his passport. He's cooked his tires in clean air more than once because being only 5 seconds ahead feels illegal. There are weekends where you can tell he's driving more through spite than sense. He also lives on the simulator, shouts at strangers in online lobbies, and then turns up on a Grand Prix weekend and makes professionals look like bots on easy mode. That same obsession that melts his social skills is the same thing that lets him climb into any machinery and find pace most people don't even know is there. I like that he's a mess. The sport already has enough media-trained robots who speak in brand slogans and call every race a good effort. Max is moody, he's petty, ruthless, and honest. He'll tell you the car is shit on a day he wins. He'll tell you the team f***ed up. He'll also take a car that looks only good and make the scoreboard say legendary. So when I hear people act stunned that he keeps destroying seasons, I go back to the smaller tape in my head. The kart in Varenne that didn't lift, the wet races where he disappeared, the Florida photo finish, the Spa and Norrisring sweeps, the junior tables that already had Albon and Ocon sitting behind his name. Red Bull didn't summon this from thin air. They just made sure the kid who taxed adults in karts had a car fast enough to tax entire eras. And if you're still here and you have another chapter of Max you're dying to see, tell me in the comments. A race, a season, a rival, heck, even a meltdown. Name it and I'll see which fan base we can upset next.